There needs to be a marriage between that chip and the certificate, and ultimately the life cycle management. These devices can't be sent out into the wild with a one-time certificate on it. I think they're going to last for 10 or 15 years.
What are some of the basic components of IoT device security to really kind of set the foundation for the questions coming up?
So one of the first ones is really around what is the trust boundary that lives within your IoT system? What do your end devices need to be able to trust, and so that they can send data to over, an encrypted channel, so that data can then be, let's say, analyzed or used in the right manner to make the right decision about the operation of the device or the health of the patient if it's connected to a connected medical device. So I think that's kind of the first thing, is to really figure out in your whole system architecture, what is that device or that edge point going to be allowed to talk to? And then once you've kind of figured that out and have a picture of that, it's how do you then be able to create those secure connections? And one of the underlying ways to do that is by issuing unique identity credentials to each device itself. So one, that kind of limits attack vector of, being able to attach, connect to one device and then kind of infiltrate a network, right? If we have unique credentials. And again, one way to do that, one strong way to do that is by the use of asymmetric certificates and underlying PKI.
You hit kind of the nail on the head. The other thing I like to talk about, though, Ellen, is that there needs to be a marriage between the hardware and the software. And so we're kind of if we go down to where they're building the device, the manufacturer, the design process, we need to have things like secure boot built in. There needs to be a marriage between that chip and the certificate, and ultimately the life cycle management. These devices can't be sent out into the wild with a one-time certificate on it and one and done and think they're going to last for 10 or 15 years. That's just not going to work. So that impending and constant life cycle management, being able to replace a certificate, a lot of that works with the silicon and interacting with the silicon and certificate storage on there, certificate management of that device, and being able to protect it throughout its entire life cycle. So it really begins with that build process and that build design right from the get-go, on top of what you added earlier.
Yeah, and I've also seen it done a few different ways too, right? So devices can choose to leverage certain hardware that can do private key generation on the device, or there's some sort of root of trust that comes embedded in the device, that's something that is, again, a unique identifier. I think to your point, that is great to have that initial anchor point. It's just also kind of when you're looking at the overall risk assessment for device security for your company, think about what you're going to do down the road when maybe that underlying crypto that you're using to encrypt pieces becomes out of date. If the algorithm is maybe not as strong, as when you built the device, how do you update that whole piece of it? Because likely, especially in the industrial space where you're making something that's maybe a turbine or some kind of asset that's 15 years lifetime, your customers are investing in this technology and they expect you as a vendor to be able to provide secure, reliable service of that. So it's just one other piece of the puzzle as we're kind of designing a very robust system.
Yeah, no, those over-the-air updates are crucial too. If we're now going to look at security throughout that life cycle, well, there's going to be interaction in that ecosystem between a network and that device again. And we have to be able to properly secure those connections and identify that device and identify the endpoint and the network it's speaking to.